In late December 2013, I began production on what would become the most epic Downfall Parody crossover miniseries in history, Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler. When episode 1 was produced, it was originally going to be a continuing series of at least 50 or even 100 half-hour episodes. The lack of Chaos Emeralds powering the super fast warp hyperspeed was going to be the main reason for this length. But then, after some spontaneous plot development in the middle of episode 2, I decided to cut it down to only a 10-episode miniseries. I ended up completing the whole thing by August of 2014 and uploaded the first episode to my Vimeo page on September 8th, 2014, the 10-year anniversary of the release of Downfall. Each subsequent episode was released on a weekly basis. This was back when I wasn't allowed to upload YouTube videos over 15 minutes long or make custom thumbnails for it. But since then, I verified my account and removed these limitations, so on November 17th, 2015, I finally uploaded the first episode to the platform that has a guaranteed chance videos would ever be seen. The later episodes would be published there on a more irregular but more frequent basis, with the last episode being entered into Hitler Rants Parodies' 2015 contest and getting 4th place. But since then, I got actual voice actors to do my Sonic shorts and even switched to Blender in 2019, but earlier this year, I decided to revisit this very miniseries and think about combining all the episodes into one feature-length cut. So in honor of International Untergängers Day this year, the new 4-hour cut of Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler is finally available on Google Drive as of the upload of this video. As time goes on though, I may eventually have to remove it from G Drive and upload it somewhere else like Mediafire for reasons that may be applicable in the future, but as of now, this is the place to find them. Click the link in the description to go to the page or pages where you can download the multi-part zip file one part at a time. Once you have all the parts downloaded, move them all to a folder where you want your copy of the movie to be. Just make sure you don't move it to a FAT32 formatted drive, as the main file is over 4 GB and would not fit within the file system limitations. If you want Kodi or Plex integration, move them to a dedicated Movies folder on the drive where you want your media to be. Next, you will probably need a third-party unzipping tool to unzip it. If you're on Windows, there are a few options out there, but I recommend using 7-Zip because it's free and open source. 7-Zip is also available on Linux, but as of this upload, it is still command line only, so you will have to figure out how to use it that way. If you use any other unzipping program that can unzip multi-part zip files and you can't use 7-Zip, you're also on your own because I have no experience in those either. But if you have 7-Zip, here's how to do it. Open up 7-Zip and navigate to the folder where you have placed your multi-part zip files. Select the first part and click Extract. When the Extract dialog box shows up, don't change anything, but just keep in mind, this zip file is password protected. Before you enter this password I set up for this file, I want you to make sure you will not re-upload or especially sell anything in this folder without my permission. Uploading someone else's work without crediting them is ethically and morally wrong. I will make sure you won't see the end of it if I ever see what you upload anywhere. Okay, you should see the completed password by now, and once you've entered it, click OK. If your system is as powerful as mine, it should unzip in about a minute, but slower systems will take considerably longer, so your mileage may vary. Once you have the whole thing unzipped, you will see a new folder that contains a whole bunch of files, mostly image files, which I'll get to in a bit, but this one MKV file with just the title and nothing else added to the end is what you're after. If you want to enjoy the movie as is, simply open the file with your favorite video player and you're good to go. Here is a list of changes from the original miniseries that apply to this 4-hour edit, some of which contain spoilers. First of all, some newly found original files were used as the source. even though I had to convert them to make them compatible with the video editor I was using. I decided to go all out on the quality and not bother with compression at all. An opening logo sequence was added at the beginning and wrapped around the original prologue. A closing credits sequence was added with all the credits I could find to everything I used over black and white footage of where in the material it was used respectively for the most part, and My Destiny was used as the accompanying song. Of course, more proper transitions between each episode were made. There were some serious audio sync issues in the miniseries, especially episode 6. That has been fixed for the movie. A couple of audio transition pops
todbestimmt sein sollte
have been fixed and patched over. A couple of frame backward skips in episodes 1 and 10 have been fixed for this full-length release. A couple of white lines at the edge of the screen I didn't catch during Charmy's still from the Where Are They Now segment at the end have finally been covered up. And the most cosmetic of the changes, some outside ambience has been added to the beginning of the Green Hills scene at the start of episode 4. Chapter markers have been added so it would be easier for you to jump to a particular favorite scene of yours. And finally, a brand new half-dub audio track has been created so you could watch the Downfall scenes with me dubbing over the Downfall characters. You're an abomination! You're a disgrace! You have always been a thorn in the computer side! To access this track, just change the audio track or stream of your video player to the one labeled English Half Dub. A new subtitle file has been made, so now you can watch the movie with English subtitles. Just make sure you don't delete the SRT file provided or move it to a different location from the video file. Just keep in mind when viewing subtitles that some of them might be incorrect, because even as recently as just 1 week before this upload, I found some major mistakes in them because I'm adding subtitles to a 4-hour movie and I may not have the time or even the attention to catch all the mistakes I made. So if, for some reason, I find any more post-release, I will edit the subtitle file and release an updated version separately on G Drive, or whatever service I end up using in the future, without being zipped. Most of the other files in this download is fit for viewing in Kodi. Kodi is a free and open source media center app available for all 3 major PC platforms, which serves as a TV-like front end for your movies, TV shows, music, pictures, and even retro games for some reason. The image files can be enjoyed by themselves as long as they're not re-uploaded without my permission, as I said earlier, but they are best used as artwork for viewing the movie's entry in Kodi. The NFO file is specifically designed to make Kodi recognize the movie and all of the metadata required to make it appear well. If you want full integration in Kodi, do not delete this file. There's a Plex tutorial coming in a few minutes, but if you want to use any other alternative, you're going to have some know-how of whatever you're using, because I sure don't have any. But for now, for all of you Kodi users, here is a brief tutorial on how to bring Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler into your setup without the need to create extra content. First of all, if you don't already have added your movie collection into Kodi, I recommend adding a few to your library that already has metadata in Kodi's databases. Add the movies you want there, preferably in separate folders, and once you've done that, go into Kodi and navigate to the video section and select Files. Go to Add Videos and select Browse. Then, navigate to the folder where you have stored your movies. Select it and click OK. Select OK again, and the Set Content dialog box will appear. Select This Directory Contains and select Movies. Leave the other settings alone and click OK. You will then be asked, do you want to refresh information for all items within this path? Just select Yes, and your movies should be added to your Kodi setup. Now, if you still don't have Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler in your setup, just move the folder containing everything I have offered over to your Movies folder. Back in Kodi, go back to the Video section or any part of the Movies section, press the M key to bring up the side panel, and then click on Update Library. Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler will now show up in your library, complete with poster, synopsis, and everything else. No need to tweak anything else as long as you still have that NFO file. As for all the other image files here, well, after looking through Kodi documentation on what types of images I can add, there's a good reason why the Kodi team encourages using different skins, because the default one doesn't give you much, only the poster, the actor images, and the fan art. But if you install the right skin, you can get movie info featuring the banner, the clear art, the clear logo, and the disc art. But that's not all. Some skins even support the use of character posters. You know those posters you see next to each other that only contain 1 or 2 characters each? Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler now has 10 character posters, with 1 hero character on each poster. On top of that, some skins also support multiple fan art as a slideshow, so I added 8 pieces of separate fan art just for this purpose. The first 2 were originally made in Gmod in October 2013, only 2 months before series production truly began. The others were made just for the hell of it, with numbers 6 and 7 being screenshots from the movie itself. I even made a brand new trailer for the movie just for this setup. Prior to making this, I didn't even feel like having Plex, let alone knew how it worked, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people swear by Plex, and I finally figured out why. Plex is great for local content streaming to as many portable devices as possible, so I had to figure out how to make it work for local files before I could show you how to make this movie work for Plex. Now, the reason I wanted to make a Plex integration tutorial was because there was no way in Kodi that I could be able to find any sort of add-on that natively integrates my iTunes, Vudu, or Movies Anywhere library, and I'm not so sure if linking to the downloads folders for my movies there would work at all, for the sole reason of DRM blocking Kodi from playing those files. But the Plex client is available on virtually every platform you could think of, even Roku, and besides, Plex has a Kodi add-on anyway, so what the hell? Might as well go all in on getting to know how to use Plex and make this Plex tutorial. Okay, here we go. How to bring Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler to your Plex media server. First of all, install Plex Media Server on whatever device you want to be streaming this movie and other content you'll like to see too. Then, you will need a Plex account to continue. You have 4 options for making an account, but if you already have an account, just simply sign in. If you're running Media Server for the first time, you may be asked to add your libraries, but otherwise, in the Plex web app, click on your user icon at the top right corner, go to Libraries, and Add Library. Click on the Movies icon, click Next, then navigate to your Movies folder. The movies you have already added there should be in your Plex library, already scraped from online. To get Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler to be recognized, go back into Settings and click Agents. Make sure Local Media Assets Movies is enabled and at the top. Then you must add the folder containing your movie items to your Movies folder, of course. Then add 2014 in parentheses at the end because Plex needs to recognize the year in which movies are released. Then, in your Movies section where you have your local file set up, click the 3 dots and then scan library files. Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler should now show up with the poster. To have full integration into Plex afterward, listen very carefully. Click the pen icon at the bottom left corner of the movie's poster. An edit dialog box should appear. Now, you technically can add whatever info you want, but for my authenticity's sake, please follow these text fields exactly. First, go to Originally Available and type down 2014-09-08. That is the original release date of the movie or miniseries. Then, under Studio, type in KKC Pictures. Now, this is the only one in which you do not have to follow exactly, as this is my own fictional film studio, which I've been running in my own imagination since I was 10 years old in 2004, when it was known quite incompetently as the King Kong Company. It was completely abbreviated in April 2010. If you don't want that name, you can change it to Avid Sonic Fan Productions, or just Avid Sonic Fan, or even Independent Pictures if you want. Anyway, go back to the folder with the movie files inside, and open the NFO file in any text editor. In my case, I'm using Notepad++. Go to the line where it says tagline at the beginning, and copy the text surrounded by the line header. Go back and paste it into the tagline section of the Plex entry. Then, go back to the NFO file, copy the text surrounded by the plot header a couple lines up in the file, and then paste it into the summary field. And then we get into tags. In the NFO file, go to the director line, copy its text, and paste it into directors. Be sure to click add that name below it in order for the whole thing to confirm. Do the same thing for writers and producers below. Then in country, add United States of America by either clicking on it if it's already available, or typing it in and confirming like before. Then in genres, you can add adventure, fantasy, and science fiction. I considered making it action as well, and you can consider that too. But I find this movie more of a drama, even though I won't add that tag for now. When you get to poster, you will find out that you can now choose from the main poster and the 10 character posters from before. But you can now also choose an image and enter a URL if you have the skills to make your own poster better than mine and move it over to that section entirely. And then down in background, you have the same kind of choice, but now it's between all the pieces of fan art I mentioned before. To confirm all these changes, click Save Changes. Now, all you have to do is download the Plex client for another device, in my case, my Roku TV, sign in if you haven't already, and go to your Movies section, where you will find Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler there as well. And that is where I found out that I didn't need to change the name of the trailer either in order for Plex to recognize that it's the trailer. Otherwise, play the movie from this interface and enjoy. Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler originally came in 10 parts. This was the result of me wanting to replicate the TV show model. But there are some fans of mine who would binge watch the whole series Netflix style, as one fan did, and more probably will. So I basically took out all of the hassle of having to click between different episodes and suffering through or skipping the previously teaser and same old intro every single time. This is also to satisfy my urges to make this project replicate the theatrical model as well. The original miniseries form of this project will still be available on YouTube and Vimeo, but I now recommend watching the full-length theatrical form as well. So, without any further ado, click the link in the description to download all 7 parts of the zip file, as well as any updated solo files I may make in the future. Enjoy the movie!